today on Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
What would be the product or company that we would completely freak out about if we woke up one day and we saw that someone had built? What would be that company or that product? And then we said, you know what? Let's go build that product that would disrupt Animoto. That would be perfect for small businesses. That would be perfect for marketing videos, particularly on social media.
This episode is brought to you by Hinge Consulting. If you're doing business on Amazon and you need to overcome the obscurity of that marketplace, Hinge Consulting will lay out the game plan that works best for your business. HingeConsulting.co. Success hinges on well-executed strategies. Hinge Consulting delivers on them.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you an important announcement. Thrive Loud is officially the best podcast ever. And Lou Diamond is still bald. That is all.
It's time to take an inside look at those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. Today on Thrive Loud, we bring you entrepreneur and visionary. He is the co-founder and chief video officer of Animoto, an award-winning online video maker that makes it easy for anyone to create professional quality marketing videos, even if they have no technical skills and have never created a video before. Animoto's certified partnerships with Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and the Small Business Administration give it a unique insight into the changing social media and business landscape, which is why more than 1 million businesses around the world are already using Animoto to create marketing videos. Thrive Loud listeners, we have the honor of having Jason Hsiao here with us today. Jason, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Lou. Thanks for having me. And congrats on the success of the show. It's a real privilege to be part of all this.
Well, it's only because we get great guests like you and more people start to listen. And Jason, many of the guests we have had on Thrive Loud are entrepreneurs and founders of successful startups. And our listeners love to hear about the journey they've taken. So if you could, let's start out by understanding what sparked the idea for Animoto. And I think that'll get our whole conversation going. That sound like a plan?
Yeah, of course. Well, there's so many crazy parts of our journey. But I guess to start in the beginning, kind of like the point of inception, it was actually kind of an interesting one. I was on a date with this girl, Jennifer. Spoiler alert, she's now my wife. But we had been dating in New York for a little while. We were on this trip in Sun Valley. Beautiful, winter evening. We were literally on like this horse-drawn sleigh ride through the snowy field. Stars are out, moon is out. And of course, in the middle of this romantic, scene, because I'm such a nerd, I have my backpack and my computer in my backpack, because I just, it's like technology is like underwear for me. I can't not have technology on me. And so, but unbeknownst to Jen, the reason I had my laptop with me was I was going to try to propose using a video, and this video was using an early working version of Animoto. And so I guess the backstory to the backstory, we're getting all this kind of meta like a Netflix show. The backstory to that is we had been working on this prototype for Animoto for about a year. So my good buddy Stevie Clifton and I had been working on this. Stevie had we both had successful kind of TV careers going for us. Stevie was a documentary producer for ABC, working with all these, like Emmy-winning, Peabody-winning, Oscar-nominated people. And I was a producer for Comedy Central and MTV. And we, and actually, a fun note is Stevie, who's actually a co-founder of Animoto, we went to 10 years prior, we went to college and high school together.
Oh,
so
wow.
We go way back, and we were always creating videos. I was just like, we were just video nerds. We were making videos on the weekends and in the summer. And so we always were big believers that video is just the most magical thing. It's just the most compelling and effective way to communicate what's important and tell your story. And so to be working in TV was kind of a dream. But the thing is, for us, why we got so restless, because we just saw how fast everything was changing around us, right? Just the technology and internet and, these, this is before the iPhone, right? So it's like these phones that could suddenly fit in your pocket. And it just seemed inevitable that this thing would one day have internet connection and maybe even a camera on it. And then like the emergence of this cloud computing stuff. And we were just like, all of this is going to be game changing. We want to be a part of this. And we knew that video was just going to be a game changer for everything. And so we thought it was going to take a few months. It took like over a year to prove out this to prove this out technically. And the interesting part was I was kind of at a crossroads with my TV career. I was, increasingly getting asked to produce shows out in LA. I had an agent. I was pitching shows to like NBC and FX, and I had just sold a concept to Comedy Central. So it was kind of like, who wouldn't take that opportunity, move to LA, where all the real, business is done. But the thing is, the thing that was keeping me, A, I love New York. Mm-hmm. B, I was dating this girl, Jen, and like, to me, it was just amazing that there was an actual girl on this planet that liked me. And see this idea of Animoto, like how do we make video, the magic of video, accessible to anyone? Like the possibilities of that, I could not stop thinking about. And so, I guess, back to that Sun Valley trip, we were taking this horse-drawn sleigh. It was kind of up to this cute little restaurant up in the mountains. We get off the sleigh, and before we go in the restaurant, I tell Jen, I saw this, there was this like the little kind of wooden bridge with these lanterns and over this creek. And so I say, I want to let's go check that out. I want to show you something. So we go over there, and in the middle of this star-filled night, beautiful scene, I take out my laptop, and probably at the horror of, Jen, like, what are you doing? But I played this video, and I'll spare you all the cheesiness of it, but it basically ended with me getting down on my knee, taking out a ring, and live in person, I get down on my knee and take out a ring and ask her to marry me. And Jen, she, mind you, she's kind of a tough cookie. She doesn't really get that emotional with things. She was bawling. And in fact, I'm not even sure. I don't even think she ever said yes, but I kind of accept the bawling as a proxy for yes. But and I think that that whole moment right there just proved so many things. It accomplished so much. Like, not only did I get myself a wife and a partner for life, but proved to, me and Stevie that the power of this technology. It proved to me and Jen in that moment the power that video can have on people's lives. And this is probably like a kind of a less romantic thing to say, but like, when you're like trying to settle down with someone in New York in your 30s, like, you don't want to be partnering up with someone who wants to quit their successful career and start some crazy startup. Right. But I think for Jen, that video was kind of proof to her of the potential of Animoto. And since then she's been a supporter and fan ever since. And so now, 11 years later, 100 employees, several rounds of funding, backed by Amazon, 6 different offices, all our ups and downs. Here we are.
So first of all, spectacular story. And I'd heard that there was a good story behind this. And thank you so much for sharing that, because that is great. And it shows just, obviously a very important moment in your life, but also gave birth to this great concept and idea that really was, by the way, like Inception with multiple wall breaks going on. So here's the question, Jason. Help the listeners understand the uniqueness about what Animoto offers, because there's lots of ways to put videos together, and there's lots of video technologies out there. Help the listeners understand specifically about Animoto, the uniqueness about it, and how you've made it so easy for someone to put something together.
Got it. So who we decided is most important, that we really want to help the most, that we're most passionate about, are these small businesses, right? Because we relate to them, and I personally, I love ideas. I love the people behind ideas, trying to make things happen. So I just love seeing the passion behind all these small businesses, and so empowering them, just us knowing how effective video can be. We really wanted to help these businesses and entrepreneurs know how to embrace video. Now, the problem is a lot of these people, they're wearing so many different hats. The last thing they have is time to learn a whole new type of marketing. They're doing everything from, accounting to sales to marketing to cleaning the toilets to, creating whatever product. So they're doing everything, right? So, and they have no experience with this crazy video stuff, and they see it everywhere. They kind of know they need to be doing it. But so where we come in is we make it incredibly simple, almost basically like fail-proof, right? Where we allow them to start with a pre-built template, and we have literally been studying over the years tens of thousands of video and really trying to understand what works best, on the internet, on your website, on social media, with email, everything. So we kind of just give them a jump start. They can pick something that they relate to or that they want to do, and they can literally just drag and drop their own content in, and boom, they have a video. And the way I like to describe it, it's almost like a toy, right? There's no way to create a failed video, because you just it's like based on building blocks. So you kind of move things around, and there's no way to break the video, right? So, and it's just, the cool thing is it's just fun. For me, there's nothing more rewarding than seeing someone make their first video and to hit that preview button, and because they're like, their eyes light up and they're like, I made that? And so that feeling of that empowerment of just showing people that, yeah, they can do something this magical. So that's the gist.
I like it. Help. And you mentioned this earlier on when you were talking about the growth of the company, what's happened since you started back in 2006. How did you get Amazon to be an early investor in the company? I know many of our listeners have great ideas, and some of the most challenging pieces is not only getting a business off the ground, but also, getting that real capital that can really help the business grow to the level that you had. What was there anything unique about what you were doing to get the pitch to Amazon?
Well, I wouldn't say this is a typical story that's necessarily replicable, but our story is kind of interesting, and it gets a little bit on the nerdy technical side of things. But so when we were starting Animoto, at first we had successfully proven this technology, with this server kind of sitting in our living room closet. And that was kind of a major breakthrough. But then we're like, okay, well, that's cool if one person makes a video, but what happens if like 5 people want to make a video at the same time, or 10 people? We're screwed. We could buy more servers, but to what extent? And at the same time, this whole cloud computing thing was coming out. No one had really heard of it. Stevie was doing all this research around it, and he kind of convinced us, like, I think we need to re-architect everything for the cloud. And, it sounded like it made sense, but it sounded incredibly risky because, most people that were kind of experimenting with the cloud were doing it, just for storage, right? Just kind of keeping files or photos up, up in the cloud. But for us, we were kind of going someplace no one had gone before, which is we were trying to figure out how to use actual processing power, because we were trying to render videos frame for frame in the cloud, and no one had done anything like that. So, so long story short is we started using Amazon AWS. We were real kind of partners with them in the beginning, because we were doing stuff that no one else was doing. So for them, we were a true kind of a test case, and kind of ended up being a bit of a success story for them. And there were times where we would shoot up from, they call them instances, but it's basically like a server or a computer, like 30 to like 3,500 in a week, right? Just because of different spikes of, demand that we had for our videos. And so, if you think about a small business, there's no way it would be financially, sane to buy, 3,500 computers. Not to mention that you're not actually using them all the time. So this idea of the cloud that you can kind of just pay as you go like electricity was actually very compelling. And it made, for a startup like us, the fact that we could focus our resources and our energy on what mattered most, not the server infrastructure, but on the actual video stuff, was amazing. And so Amazon kind of saw this. We were like on the phone with them all the time. So they were real true partners. And Jeff Bezos actually started going around sharing our story and showing these crazy graphs of all these, peaks and valleys of our server use. And he's like, look, the only reason this business is, successful and actually, financially stable is because they're using Amazon AWS. And so really, we kind of became a partner with them in those early days. We became kind of a great case study. And for us, there was no other way we could have scaled the way we did without them. And it kind of just became, like a great marriage. And it's been pretty fun to kind of be partners with them along the way. It's not like, Jeff Bezos is hanging out in Animoto and we're having lunch every day or anything like that. But, the fact that, we can say that Amazon is an investor is pretty cool.
So you have this expression in your company, and if you could share this with the listeners, I think is pretty cool. What does it mean to speak video?
So the way that we think about video is it's kind of like a language. It's kind of like it's a form of communication. And when we say speak video, I think what we're trying to convey, especially to a lot of newcomers to video, is that video is not kind of like this one-off item on your marketing to-do list, right? It's not like, oh, I have a video on my website, I'm done. Video is increasingly becoming a way that you communicate, just like, with email, or just like, with whatever you're writing on your blog or on social media. Video is a way to, to educate, to inform, to inspire, to promote, to all those different things that you normally do with every other type of marketing. Video is kind of a newer and more effective way to do all of that. So it's really just trying to get people on that right mindset that video is not this one-off, marketing checklist item. It is a form of communication that you should be in the habit of doing regularly, because, the punchline is what we're seeing. The reason why video is taken over so quickly is because the people, the consumers out there, they prefer to consume their content with video. And so we as businesses need to learn how to communicate in a way that they prefer, and that's with video.
It's true, and I'm laughing about this as here we are. Obviously, our primary means of communicating right now is audio. For the Thrive Loud listeners, we had our own little video chat before we even got on the recording to make sure Jason's setup was working. We could not get his microphone to work, which was a whole other story in itself. But here's something interesting that, one, we use video to communicate. It helps very clearly. I could tell you that we have several episodes of Thrive Loud that we've made into video features, certain unique guests or weird situations. We'll use videos to promote lots of the guests that we have or their products or their shows. Connecting all of these means is really essential, and it's become an integral part of an audio podcast, which is kind of interesting, right? So we're, I guess, here at Thrive Loud starting to speak video, and it's becoming a key part of how we work. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, the other thing that's important for folks to understand is video is not necessarily replacing everything. The way I try to help businesses understand how to start with video is it's a way to really amplify what's already working for you, right? So whatever is already, as a business owner or entrepreneur or marketer, the things that are already working with your business. The message, the images, the channels, whether it's email or social or audio, whatever it is that's already working. The amazing thing with video is you can use video to amplify whatever it is you already have or that you're already using that works for you. And so it's just kind of a plus one to everything you're doing. So it's not like learning a whole new type of marketing. It's a way to amplify your existing business, your existing marketing. That's the way that I like to think about it.
I want to ask this question because I am really curious at this one, because you've had great success coming up with great technology. Like you said, that line, you wear technology on yourself like underwear is priceless. That you always have been a technophile, for lack of a better word. I'm not going to go the geek way because we're all geeks in our own way. Technophile, you have your own business, have been an entrepreneur, and obviously become an innovator and leading a company. In the role that you have today, which of these jobs do you like best? Dealing with the technology or the growth of the business itself?
Gosh, I mean, both are essential. I think probably one of the biggest lessons we've learned, this is probably not atypical for a lot of startups, is when we started the company, as you can kind of hear the way that I was talking, it was a complete love of the technology and all things video. And we were building all sorts of stuff that we thought was amazing, that we got incredible patents around. I mean, we were analyzing every little nuance of music and perfectly orchestrating with motion design every little moment of music. And it was really cool stuff. But as it actually turns out, a lot of stuff that we built, people didn't actually care about. We actually had this button that was called a remix button that you could remix your video, and no two videos would ever be the same. And from a technology standpoint, it was so cool. And I think we even have, several patents around that technology on that. But as it turns out, people, as you can understand, they're like, wait, I like most of the video that I just had. Now it's all gone. They didn't want this like whole new video. They just wanted to tweak certain parts. And so, I think what we learned, probably not unlike a lot of businesses, is how to actually be, not just talk the talk about being customer focused, but really walking the walk. And I think there was a couple big learning points. One is in the beginning, I'd say we had a lot of faux success in the beginning. It's probably not something I'd like to admit regularly, but it seemed really exciting in the beginning because we had a little bit of everyone using us, and more people than we would have ever thought using this crazy technology. We had schools, teachers, nonprofits, businesses, photographers, moms, dads, travelers, and it was just like, this is awesome, right? Everyone's using Animoto. And as we kind of, a few years went by, I think what we realized is, what? When a little bit of everyone is using you, it's almost kind of like no one is using you, because it's kind of like you're kind of good at a lot of things, but you're not great at any one thing. And that was kind of a dagger to the heart for us to really kind of admit. And operationally, why that was really difficult is, we had all sorts of feature requests coming in left and right. And we had a product roadmap that was like, 20, or I guess a backlog of features that was like 20 years long. But if you don't know who you're focused on, how do you even prioritize, right? So what happened was we were just being pulled in every different direction, and our whole product and technology became kind of this patchwork quilt, this Frankenstein of a product. And it just, from a technology standpoint, usability standpoint, from a focus standpoint, it was just kind of becoming a bit of a mess. And I think, probably about halfway through our journey, we realized, what? We would rather be best in the world at one thing than kind of good at like 12 different things. So that was when we decided that small businesses was really our passion, that was kind of the biggest market opportunity. That's where we could crush it. And so we actually, kind of started from, we decided what would be the product or company that we would completely freak out about if we woke up one day and we saw that someone had built. What would be that company or that product? And then we said, what? Let's go build that product that would disrupt Animoto. That would be perfect for small businesses. That would be perfect for marketing videos, particularly on social media. And we thought it was going to take us a year. It took us like 2 years. We launched it then like kind of in fall of 2016. So it's been a couple years now, but that was probably one of the best decisions we ever made to really genuinely pick a target and be best in the world at one thing and serve one person really well, and not just talk the talk about being customer focused, but really like having real conversations with these people, and not just focus groups and usability tests and stuff like that, but sitting down, talking to these people, having coffee with them, getting in their worlds. And so I think we've, especially in the last few worlds, we've kind of really grown up as a company. And so I realized that was a long-winded way of kind of answering your question, but we're at our hearts, we are product technology nerds, but we know that the only way that you can really grow a successful company is by really understanding, to grow a company, you have to really understand, your business model, your target market, your customers, your channels and all that stuff. So, it's probably the punchline is it kind of requires both.
Yeah. I was going to say, you've really synthesized and connected who you are, Jason. And this is really cool when you think about the fact you came from a television production and a show creation, so content side, with the love of technology, and then laser focusing that all together into who you are, you can feel the passion you have for it, which is really refreshing. A lot of times businesses that go a certain direction, pivot to a certain market or shift, get so focused on having to make the business and get away from the passion of what's really most important and the most useful for who you can be the most successful for. And that is what makes you thrive loud, Jason. I think that's just super. And thank you for sharing that with us, because I love that. You could hear it in your voice. So just as we listen back to this, you'll be like, Lou, you for real? Yes, I am for real.
Yeah, I'll just one of the books early on that had the biggest impact on me was Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsiao, who now runs Zappos, right? But before Zappos, he started this company, and in like 3 years, I think it was called like Linked Exchange or something. In like 3 years, he sold it to Microsoft for like $275 million. And you're like, that's the American dream, right? But in the book, he talks about how much he hated every day of that experience. And I was like, really? And so for me, it's just like, wow, life's too short to, it doesn't matter what the end game is. If you're not enjoying every day of what you're doing and you're not truly passionate about, how you're trying to change the world, then it's just a waste of life.
It's a great segue, Jason, and this is to the point of that book and him being miserable during those times that he was doing successful. We don't always have superstar, rock star, happy, smiley face days. Right. So on the days that you're a little bit off or not really yourself, what practice or who do you seek to get back on the thriving track?
Gosh, that's a great point and a great question. There was one moment in my TV career that I think I was fortunate. It was kind of like a midlife crisis when I was 25. Actually, hopefully it wasn't my midlife crisis, because that means I only have a few years left.
That would be like maybe eighth of a life or quarter life.
Hopefully it's not like quarter life crisis. But okay, so this was when I was starting off in TV. I was working on this show for Comedy Central, Crank Yankers. It's like puppets reenacting. Oh yeah, puppets reenacting these prank phone calls by all these famous comedians. Except for I had nothing to do with all these great comedians like Dave Chappelle and Sarah Silverman. I was the PA, which, if anyone knows, is like production assistant, lowest rung. And what I was literally doing is I was driving a white van around New York City and Brooklyn, making deliveries, picking up puppet parts from this puppet maker in Dumbo, and delivering envelopes and tapes around the city to different producers. And I had this one moment where I was sent to a grocery store, and I was sent to pick out some stuff that would make for good, like puppet vomit or something like that. And I was sitting there in my hand, I had in one hand frozen peas, and another hand like frozen mixed vegetables or something. And I had this just moment where I was almost crying, and I was just like, I'm 25. I actually went to a good school. I'll humbly say I went to an Ivy League school. It's
a pretty good school, Dartmouth. We'll give it some credit. It's no Cornell, but it's okay.
It's no Cornell. That's how I wanted to know. But Dartmouth is still pretty good. And in my first job out of school, I was at this hot shop like management consulting firm where I was being flown all over the country, visiting these Fortune 500 companies. And here I was, 25, picking out frozen peas for puppet vomit. And I was just like, what am I doing with my life? But and that moment could have gone a number of different ways. It was kind of depressing. But I realized then, or I told myself then, that, you know what? It doesn't matter what is given to me. I'm just going to do the best at everything that anyone asks me to do. And my philosophy, which I still believe to this day, is if you can prove yourself to be reliable and dependable and great at the little things, you will be quickly trusted with the big things. And that's what happened. And in a pretty short time span, and the nice thing about TV, it's pretty meritocratic, is because I could do all those little crappy things really well, and I was very reliable, and I was a man of my word. I would always deliver on anything I said I was going to get done. I was quickly kind of entrusted to do more and more and more. And so that's kind of how I view a lot of things. And you're right, that passion is, there's 90% of any industry or any job, there's a lot of crap work, right? But it's kind of how you approach all of that work that really kind of defines you, defines your company, defines your character, defines you as a person. And so for me, there's never whining. You just do your best with anything that's put on your plate. And, all those little things add up. And when you look back, the sum of all parts, if you feel like that you've done your best and reached your full potential all along the way, then there's no regrets.
I like it. Jason, I was going to make this comment. I was just thinking about this because it was the back of my head, recognizing that you and Stevie, your business partner, went to high school together, and you both went to Dartmouth.
Yep.
Which is some kind of, were you guys like in the original script of Superbad? Because wasn't that like where those two guys went to?
Well, here's what's even more crazy. There was 4 of us. There's 4 co-founders. All 4 of us went to high school together. Bellevue High School is a suburb of Seattle, including our boss, who's our CEO, Brad Jefferson. And 3 of us went to Dartmouth together. And 2 of them, Stevie's younger brother, Tom, they're brothers. So, the proverbial never go into business with your friends or family. We broke all those rules, and somehow it all worked out for us. I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way, but yeah, we all started. But yeah, I think I'm sure we could probably parallel a lot of awful movies out there, but we were always doing stuff in college together. We started even this thing that was called the Dartmouth Interactive Directory. It was kind of like it was like Facebook, like 5 years before Facebook. And then we were like, oh, why didn't we keep going with that? That seemed like that was a good idea. But anyway, we're having fun, and we're so glad that we're working together.
Jason, give all the plugs on where people can learn about you, Animoto, anything, so that they could understand. We do have a lot of small businesses out there that are always trying to figure out how to utilize video, and I think this would be a great connection point here. So it always comes better from you.
Yeah, I thought maybe it would be easiest. I'll put up a web page that just has all of that. So
we'll have a link to that. Yeah, great. We'll definitely have a link on the show notes.
Yeah, I'll put like animo.com/ThriveLoud. I'll put I'll put contact info and stuff about video marketing. And if anyone wants to get in touch with me to learn more about video marketing or anything else, or wants to know more about my crazy proposal story, I'm happy to talk and share.
Great stuff. And Jason, if you could, it's that time. Can you share with the listeners your all-time favorite movie? Yes.
Oh man, it's probably a toss-up between Top Gun and Braveheart. The sad thing for me over the years is both those guys have gone a little bit kooky, but I think if I had to... especially Tom Cruise. Sometimes I cringe now when I watch any Tom Cruise movies, but I think I still have to say that I have the softest place in my heart for Braveheart. And in fact, at some of our company gatherings, I have this thing where I paint my face all blue and start screaming at everyone. So I think Braveheart is my all-time favorite.
You can't go wrong with it either way. Thrive Loud listeners, hopefully you've appreciated what a great guy Jason is. You've heard the passion about his business, and more notably, just what a great guy he is as well, that he continues to care about this. And I'll go with this. Jason, what's next for Animoto? Where do you want to take things? Any big things on the horizon that we should be on the lookout for?
Oh yeah, there's all sorts of things. I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to talk about, but especially at the towards the end of 2018 here, we have a lot of big things. Big, exciting announcements coming out. But I think that what's most exciting for me is just knowing that things are still kind of early in this whole world of video and social media. Things are changing so quickly. The things that we were talking about 2 years ago aren't even relevant. So on one hand, that's probably kind of scary, but it's still kind of the wild, wild west. And for me, there's just so much more kind of proving and experimenting and inspiring to do. And so there's going to be a lot, but I think for anyone that wants to follow along, there's a lot of really cool stuff in the works that I can't wait to talk about. You see everything that's happening I'll kind of drop maybe one. If you see everything that's happening on Instagram right now, there's a lot of really interesting stuff. And so we're really laser focused on being leaders in that area.
Well, I'll throw this out there. We've been doing a ton of stuff at Thrive Loud via Instagram, mostly just images and whatnot, and some video and some of the things. You want to use a guinea pig, find me. And we'll figure out a way to do it, because we'd love to be involved with it. I think would be great.
We'll take you up on that.
Done. Jason, Hsiao, this has been awesome. Thanks so much for coming on Thrive Loud.
Of course. I really appreciate this, Lou.
You got it, man. And to all the Thrive Loud listeners out there, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Thrive Loud. Or find us on the web at thriveloud.com.